Hi guys, Harry here from the Art Gear Guy. Thanks very much for joining me today. As you can see here, I've got a review of the Koh-I-Noor soft pastel pencils. Now, I'm not. I don't think it's any secret really for people that have been watching my videos uh, as to how I feel about Koh-I-Noor products. Um, I personally love Koh-I-Noor, the company. I think they are a fantastic company. Any dealings I have had with that company have always been incredibly professional, incredibly polite. I can't say a bad word against the company. Their products, the ones that I have reviewed so far, are exceptional when you take into consideration the price point that they come in at the market. And the quality that the actual products that I've reviewed so far stand at. So in other words, I get a lot of questions asked at me about a cheap set of pencils, a relatively cheap set of pencils that will do really beautiful artwork. Not necessarily the highest light fast rating or anything like that, but a pencil that's going to stand up really well and not cost the earth. And nearly all the time, I put forward the Koh-I-Noor Polycolor, or if it's watercolor pencils that they're looking for, cheap ones, the Mondeluz. Now, if you cast your mind back just a couple of months ago, I done a review of the Koh-I-Noor extra soft pastels. Now that was the cylinder pastels. I'll have a link to that review down below. And so I've had this 48 set of their soft pastel pencils, and the artwork that I'm showing you now is what I've done with the pastel pencils. Now I did use a little bit of the soft pastels, the extra soft pastels as well, just to fill in some of the bigger bits, and use the pencils for the more detailed work and what have you, the smaller petals and what have you. But both of these mediums obviously work incredibly well together. The extra soft pastels, well, I've already done a review on those. You can go across, take a look at that and see what I think of those. But these pastel pencils are fantastic. Now, what I will say about them is, of all the pastel pencils I have reviewed, they seem to be quite a chunky pencil. And I think that is primarily down to the fact that with pastel, it can be quite a brittle medium, and so that's why sharpening them can be troublesome sometimes. Sharpeners don't always work, and if they do work, they don't work for very long because they tend to get blunt by the pastel. Even the hand crank sharpeners, they do work to a certain extent, but not always. It's probably much better to use like a craft knife or a blade or something like that to sharpen them. But these pastel pencils are the thinnest pastel pencils I have tested so far. So if we take a look here at the, if we just take a look at the actual pencils, and we'll look at the information that's on them. So first of all, you can see here that the barrel is a beautiful wood grain barrel. And then on the very end here, we have kind of like a 3/4 inch flash, which indicates the pigment color. The actual size of the barrel is 7.5 mil, and the core size is 4.2. Now, ordinarily, a lot of the other pastel pencils that I've reviewed, the cores have been about 5 mil, and the barrels have been about 8.2, that type of thing. So you can tell that they are significantly thinner than other pastel pencils. So running along the actual barrel here, we have the company name, Koh-I-Noor. Then the name of the brand, which is, I can't pronounce that, it's Gioconda. And then it says here, soft pastel. At the very end of the pencil here as well, there's a number, 8820, which corresponds to the fact that this is a pastel. This is for open stock value, so if you're looking for an open stock pastel, this first 4-digit number refers to the fact that you're looking for a pastel pencil, and this next digit at the side of it is the pigment. On the other side of the barrel is just a barcode, which is obviously again for open stock, that type of thing. So now, as you can, like I said here, it is quite a thin barrel, it is quite a thin core, but when I've been using these pastel pencils, sharpening them has been really, really nice. And I think that's primarily down to the wood that's being used here. I'll just show you now how because a lot of people have problems sharpening pastel pencils. And I know people who have got problems with their hand, like arthritis, things like that, will find this difficult. But I have like an X-Acto knife here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Sorry. Okay. So all I do is put my thumb at the back of the craft knife. Obviously, be careful. For younger artists, you're going to have to be very careful. And depending on what age you are, if you're like 8 or 9 or something like that, or 10, you're going to have to make sure that you get an adult to either do this for you or be with you when you're doing it. But always keep your thumb at the back of the blade. Put it into the wood. And the blade's got to be sharp. If it's not sharp, it's not going to work. And then just keep going around the pencil. Like so. Now, a lot of people think that with pastel pencils, you can't get a sharp tip on them. And I'm going to show you here that you can, if you do it right. If you do this twisting technique, turning the pencil around the whole time, what you need to do is you need to get the wood off the core first of all, before you start kind of like shaping the actual core. But one of the reasons I think that the pastel pencils are so good is a lot of artists don't like the feel of pastels. You know, the pastel blocks, or like the Koh-I-Noor extra soft pastels that are reviewed, because they have them in their hand. They just don't like the texture, the feel of the actual pastels. But having said that, I still hear a lot of those types of people, the people that don't like the feel of it, say that they would love to be able to try pastel art, because if you look at some of the really, really good, excellent pastel artists, the work that they can achieve with this is unbelievable. And so this is where I think pastel pencils comes in. It helps those types of people out, the people that don't like the texture, the feel of it on their hands. You can get around that now with using pastel pencils and other ways of blending them in, which I'll show you later on. So anyway, as you can see, I've taken all the wood back here. And what I'm going to do now is just shave off the actual core, still twisting it round the whole time, making sure that you're not shaving off one side more than the other. And there you go. You can see there that you still get a pretty sharp point with a pastel pencil if you use a craft knife and you do it properly. Plus, doing it this way, you're not going to waste a lot of the pigment, because 9 times out of 10, if you put it through a sharpener, it is going to break. Even the hand crank sharpeners do a much better job than ordinary hand sharpeners, but you still run the risk. Whereas doing it this way, it's much less of a risk. And I never used to like doing this because I think the pencils look all wrecked and stuff like that there when they go back into the box, but it is better for saving the actual pigment. This is the 48 set. Now, the sets that are available for the pastel pencils is 12, 24, and 48. So 48 is the biggest set, which, again, it's always my biggest my biggest issue with a product that I really like, and that is that I want to have more colors available to me. If I find a product that I really like, 48 is a good number, but it would really be nice to have maybe like a 72 set, the same type of numbers that they have with the Polycolor and the Mondeluz, the watercolor pencils. But nevertheless, 48 is all we have here so far. Mind you, having said that, now that I'm thinking about it, although this is a 48 set, and you know, it is limiting the color wise, they have lots of other sets of pastels: hard pastels, soft pastel, extra soft pastels, and they come in different size sets, but I'll do a review of those later on. So that's the first tray here, and then the second tray, you can see this is kind of like the greens and browns and a couple of greys in there as well. So I'm just going to show you how these pastel pencils work, but bear in mind I've done that artwork, so you'll be able to see the speed drawing of the artwork that I've done. I must warn you, I am getting much better at my pastel artwork, but I still have a long way to go. I still have a lot of things to learn as far as pastel goes, but I think it's such a fascinating medium, and I think it's so versatile, and the artwork that is able to be achieved by, if you know how to use it properly and you use the right paper, it's phenomenal. So first of all, the paper that I'm using here is Clairefontaine Pastel Matte. You can see there, this is like a small pad of it. It has kind of like it's a smooth texture, but it's kind of like a really, really fine sandpaper texture. So anyway, let's get some of these colors out here. We'll take a look at them. Okay, so I'll zoom in. Here for you. So you can see there, when you hold the pencil on its side, you can still cover quite a large area, but at the same time, you can still get really, really nice detail, really thin lines, that type of thing, just like as you would do an ordinary colored pencil. You can see here that the pigment is very vibrant. And I'm not leaning very heavy on these colors at all. These are kind of like light applications, if you will. I'll do a few heavier applications in a second. And in terms of blending, so if you see there, I've got that light blue. Again, this is where making other colors, that type of thing, is really quite easy. And for those people that don't like the actual feel of the pastel in their hand or anything like that, you can see here that I'm actually using the pencils to blend that in, although there are so many other different techniques that you can use to blend pastel. These things here are excellent. It's kind of like a little rubber tip here, and it helps to push the pigment down into the paper and blend it in. So you can see there that has created a nice green. From the yellow and the blue there, and I'll just do another quick blend here. I'll do put some yellow down, and then blend in some red to get a nice orange, hopefully. But I've done with some of the other pastel pencils that I've done, some of them have had like a more chalky feel to them. These Koh-I-Noor soft pastel pencils, as what they are called, they are very soft, which I think is why they don't sharpen as well in sharpeners. Some of the other pastel pencils, if you go over some of my other reviews, you'll hear me say that they sharpen quite well in hand crank sharpeners. And I think that's because of the type of ingredients that have been used in the actual pastel mix. These are really quite soft, which is excellent for blending, for laying down the colour, that type of thing. And I'm going to do a little bit of a heavier application here so that you can just see the strength of the pigment. There you go. You can see the strength of that pigment straight away there. And I'll do the yellow here as well. Obviously, if you're using pastel pencils, this is not the way you would go about laying down colour. You do it similarly, the same kind of way that you would do with an ordinary colour pencil. You build up layers. As soon as you start doing this type of thing, where you push down really hard on the pencil to get like a vibrant coat of pigment like this, you're kind of blocking in the tooth, the grain of the paper, and it makes it slightly more difficult to try and put layers on top. And one of the good things about pastel pencils, just let me blow this dust off. One of the really good things about pastels is, and it's something that can be a little bit, if you're a colour pencil artist, it can be a little bit of a learning curve. For colour pencil artists, you've got to make sure that if you're going to have highlights on your work, lights or anything like that, that you either leave it blank, the same colour as the paper, and you work around it, or you use something like a jelly roll or a Posca pen or something like that, which is great, but I don't think they're as archival as they could be. Whereas with pastels, you can come in with your white pastel pencil and add the highlights and still get really nice white highlights that you wouldn't obviously ordinarily be able to get with colour pencils. Even if you're using like the more pigmented white pencils that we all know of in the colour pencil world. But there you can see there that I've only put 3 small little dots on this purple here, and you can see straight away that they show up and it's not an issue. Now, if in terms of prices and what have you, I'll have those all over on my written review over on the Art Gear Guide, as well as links if you want to purchase these pencils or anything like that. But I'll also have over there links to the review of the extra soft pastels that I was talking about, which I've also reviewed. I really enjoyed using these pastel pencils. As I said at the beginning of this video, I've used a lot of Koh-I-Noor products, tested them and reviewed them, and I've always had fantastic results with the products that I've tested so far. I still have a few other products from Koh-I-Noor that I have to do reviews on, so I reserve judgment on those ones because I haven't used them yet. But the ones that I've done so far, I have a lot of respect for them, and I always recommend Koh-I-Noor products to people that are looking for a really high quality pigmented medium, but they are trying to keep it in with a budget. Koh-I-Noor is one of the best brands for that, and I would say exactly, that applies for these pastel pencils. if you're looking to get into pastel art and you want to try and get a pastel pencil, a really nice pastel pencil that's going to get you started in something that maybe later on down the line you might want to go for something incredibly light fast, something that you're going to do artwork to put into a gallery or sell to people or something like that. This is definitely the way to start, because you may not like pastels, you may just not get along with them, but if you buy a lovely set like this, even the 48 set, you're not going to be breaking the bank, and you're going to get a lot of use out of this, and be able to, make sure you get a good amount of practice in to determine whether you want to use pastel pencils or not. Anyway, guys, that's my review here for the Koh-I-Noor pastel pencils. Don't forget, as always, I will have a written review over on the Art Gear Guide. I will also have the speed drawing up of the flower that I've done with the pastel pencils, so you can go across, take a little look at that. I understand that speed drawings don't really show you the techniques that I'm using, but I am working on trying to maybe start doing a few tutorials on certain techniques that I use with markers and colored pencils and pastels, that watercolor, that type of thing. Some people have been asking me for that, but I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is a review channel first and foremost. So I don't want to be cluttering it too much with like speed drawings and tutorials and all the rest of it. I want to maintain the focus that it is a review channel. So I will try and get some tutorials up, but for now, the speed drawings will show you a little bit. They'll show you kind of like the blending, that type of thing, how the pencils blend, how pigmented the pencils are, that type of thing. And it'll just give you an idea of the type of artwork that you're capable of doing as well. Because if I can do this artwork, you're more than capable of doing it as well. By just watching other artists, which is exactly what I done when I first started. I went around YouTube, watched other artists, went on to Craftsy, downloaded a few courses, that type of thing on Craftsy, same as the virtualinstructor.com, and that's how I learned all the stuff that I've picked up now. So if I can do it, absolutely anybody can do it. Thanks very much, guys. I look forward to seeing you again in the next review. Bye.